Hello there, good evening and welcome to Political Lens on Voice of the People Television, VOP. I am your host, Chukwuma Okoro. And today we'll be discussing the call by the Nigerian Supreme Council for Ecclesiastical Affairs, NSCEA, asking President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to pull Nigeria out from several international organizations, especially the Organization of Islamic Countries, OIC, will also chime into the state of the nation. Oh, let's bring in our guest. And our guest today is Professor Funmilayo at Davies. She's a professor of linguistics at Ignatius Ajuri University of Education in Port Harcourt. She's also the secretary of the Nigerian Supreme Council of Ecclesiastical Affairs and a former presidential aspirant of the People's Democratic Party in the 2019 general election. Now, she's done a lot, and I'm sure if we try to put up her citation there, we are not going to be done in the next 2 or 3 hours, because she is erudite, she's a mother, she's done quite a lot, both in politics and in the academic fair. She is also a bishop of a church, and she's been able to translate the Bible into several languages, which is affordable on tape and all of that. Good evening, Professor Funmilayo at Davies, and welcome to my show, Political Lens.
Good evening. I'm happy to be here. Good evening, please.
Okay, good evening, and once again, I'm good to see you. Now, let's get into it. The Nigerian Supreme Council for, by the way, how is Port Harcourt City, how is the Garden City doing before we get into all of that major discussions?
The weather has been cool. You know, last month was quite hot, but this month it's been some rains in and here and there. And interestingly, today, the visitor to the university, Governor Fubara, visited our university at Ignatius Ajuru to see the Vice Chancellor and the environment of the university. And so I just came in from the uni after receiving my state governor. It was nice. Port Harcourt is cool, thank you.
Okay, good to hear that Port Harcourt is calm. At least we've not heard about all the problems about who is supporting who and all of that. But
No.
let me not preempt you, because we are going to get into all of that in the course of the show. All right. Now, the Nigerian Supreme Council for Ecclesiastical Affairs, NSCEA, Republic of Nigeria, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, to take a leave from the President of the United States of America, President Donald Trump, and withdraw Nigeria from unnecessary, irrelevant, and burdensome bodies, especially the religious ones. Now, you recall that Trump has also pulled out the United States from World Health Organization and all of that. Now, this, according to NSCEA, will resolve some of the major problems and agitations, complaints, and create a balance in the Nigerian state. Oh, well, the Secretary of the Association, Bishop Professor Funmilayo at Davies, the Secretary of the Association, gave this advice while commenting on the deportation of Nigerians from the United States of America and appealed to Mr. President to withdraw Nigeria from unnecessary bodies, especially the IOC, the OIC, and let the nation move forward. Adesanya Davies recalled that the matter has been in court for determination since 2016, and to date, no avail. Now, the questions for determination and the relief sought by some Christians, NSCEA, Christian Association of Nigeria, major Christian organizations, leading Christian lawyers, and Christian Lawyers Fellowship of Nigeria, are of great concern to the entire body of Christ in Nigeria. And the questions for determination include: 1, whether Nigeria's continuous membership of OIC is not a violation of the provisions of Section 10 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 1999, as amended. And number 2 is whether Nigeria's membership of the Islamic Military Alliance to fight against terrorism does not detract from the provisions of Section 10 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 1999, as amended, which proclaims Nigeria as a secular state. And number 3, among others, whether Nigeria's continuous membership of development, otherwise called 8 developing Islamic countries, is not a clear violation of the provisions of Section 10 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 1999, as amended, being that Nigeria is a secular state. Now, there's a lot in here, but let's start from somewhere. Prof, last week, the former military president, Ibrahim Babangida, launched his long-awaited memoir, and colleague former heads of state like Generals Gowon and Obasanjo were there to felicitate and utilize him. What's your broad reaction to the book and the issues addressed therein? I mean, we are very familiar with the contentious issues about the annulment of June 12, the 1966 January coup, the SAP Structural Adjustment Program, the $12.8 billion oil windfall, Gulf oil windfall, and all of that. Let's have your broad reaction, your take on the book and all the issues that Babangida addressed before we get into other things.
If I say that I've not reacted to that issue, then I'll not be telling all the truth, because if you are a Nigerian, there's no way you can remove your eye from it. As a committed Nigeria who is interested in the progress of the nation, who is concerned about the activities happening in the country, there is no way you will say that launch did not attract your attention. So for me, in a row, I found myself writing almost 7 articles on that book launch. I wrote one titled General Ibrahim Babangida's book launch, Confession of Thursday, Mourning the Yoruba Loss. Because as a Yoruba person, I was just like, oh, now time for us to mourn and find out whether we should leave it behind or not. Because some Yoruba said, in fact, it's now they are remembering, so they cannot even leave it behind. I wrote another one titled A Squandering Nation, the Billions in Donation. And then you will see the caliber of people that were there celebrating the death of Abiola, in quote, if I put it that way, and then raking out billions in the name of the book launch. I think I wrote another one, a reflection on political hypocrisy and the celebration of power. To me, this is a celebration of power within political hypocrisy. It's like sociopathy, psychophancy. It's like we really don't like what happened, but we ought to be there. So I wasn't surprised when former Vice President of Buhari, Pastor Oshibajo, said something is unique about Nigerians, and that we're free-minded people and we like to forgive. And I'm like, so this is time to forgive? Okay. Until I read Falana this morning, and Sam Falana said he's going to sue Babangida for that confession. That confession deserves a suit, and is going to gather as many lawyers as possible together, because it cannot just be a matter of confession. It is bigger than confession. I think I wrote another article on this book launch, Confession, saying Nigeria and Islamization, Ibrahim Babangida's contribution to Islamization of Nigeria, a confession. While Babangida was confessing about annulling June 12, I was waiting for him in the same book to confess the sin of pulling Nigeria to OIC. So to me, the title of his book should actually be A Confession of My Atrocities in Nigeria or to Nigeria. That should just be the title of his book.
All right, ma'am. I think I read the article, A Reflection of Political Hypocrisy and the Celebration of Power. You know, which you seem to have disagreed a lot with President Ibrahim Babangida. What exactly are your points of disagreement, especially with regard to the role IBB played in taking Nigeria to the Organization of Islamic Countries? Is one of those issues your point of disagreement?
I always say something generally, and that is result is the game. I call it bottom line. 1 + 1 is supposed to be 2. What if you have added it up and it is 11, and we are seeing 11? Then that's a problem. In fact, I really don't have problem with Babangida here. It's like I have problem with the bunch. The bunch at the launch. They were a representation of everything that has happened to Nigeria since after independence. So I just looked at General Gowon there. I call him Sweet Daddy anyway. I'm close to Daddy Gowon. I saw What are the names? Abdul Salam, the one that ruled after Buhari himself. Tinubu was there too with his vice president. Just all of them. I just looked at them and I'm just like, I wish, I wish they were gathered to celebrate a place like Qatar or even a country in the US. But see the country they've given to us. So I don't have anything personal against Babangida. What I have is against the rulers of Nigerians. The ruler of Nigeria. Okay, the ruler of Nigerians, they have ruled us. And how did we get here? Where they have brought us to. Bottom line result is again, the Nigeria we have today is their 1 + 1 + 1 + 1 + 1 + 1, and it is added to where we are with our bad roads there. In fact, in this my house, as an example, we haven't had light since November. The story is about transformer, and they repaired it, and it got bad again. So I do solar here. No light. Oh my God, you can't believe the road that leads to my house opposite the university gate. You can't even believe how it looks. I must not just put it, the bad roads, the no light, then the poor educational support for our students. And there's another, the squadron nation was also another article I wrote. Okay. How the creams of Nigeria insensitive to the price of fuel, that we can't even afford fuel. This morning, as I was going to school, I think I branched at the fueling station, and they were like 1,000 naira per liter. And they were just gathered there after clapping for Babangida for his confession of life of Abiola Kudirat and a number of them. Such precious lives.
Okay. Okay, ma'am.
And
all right.
You see, I don't have anything personal.
Okay, I understand all of that. Now let's
have led Nigeria to.
Okay.
Maybe the ones that would be very personal to me now, again, as Secretary of Nigerian Supreme Council.
Exactly the point.
The OIC thing.
Okay, that's where I'm coming to now. That's where I'm coming to. Now, your organization, the organization which you are the secretary, Nigerian Supreme Council for the Ecclesiastical Affairs. You know, you are the secretary. And you have made a passionate call, a passionate plea on the president to move Nigeria out of OIC, Organization of Islamic Countries. What is the contentious issues there? What are the contentious issues? Why do you want Nigeria out of OIC?
Of course, we all know in our constitution outrightly that Nigeria is a secular nation. What does a secular nation mean? Simply, a nation that does not embrace any religion as a state. That means individuals can have their religion, but as a state, no. Now, say my contention again. Nigeria is a nation of 50-50%, relatively. 50% Christians, 50% Muslims. And if you get 1% out of those two groups, then you say we are 48, and there is the 2% traditionalist, what is left of our grandfathers. So when you have a nation like that, that is not as if it is weighing. It's not as if you're saying Christians are 20%, Muslims are 80%. What are you doing in Organization of Islamic Union, which has been organized for the purpose of Islamic nations to move their nation forward, to move their religion forward, and everything they are doing in that group, particularly about their religion, in addition to economic and other political matters, that democracy.
Okay.
So Nigeria is doing that. And when you now tell yourself that Nigeria did not only join the OIC in 1986, but Nigeria joined many Islamic groups. Islamic Development Bank, IDB, is another one Nigeria is into, and we're into it officially, not as if some group of Muslims gathered together. You know, the way Christians gather together and do some religious things with some other groups outside the country. You also have Islamic Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization, ISESCO, they call it, World Assembly of Muslim Youth. I don't have any problem with a group of Muslim youths gathering themselves together and joining the WAMY, World Assembly of Muslim Youth. But I have a problem when Nigeria as a nation, and a secular nation that we are,
Okay.
now I will not say secular nation.
All right, ma'am. So I'm sorry to butt in at this moment. I'm sorry to butt in.
Muslim World League.
Sorry, ma'am. I'm sorry to butt in at this moment.
The list is just on and on. If you allow me.
Yes, exactly the point. I want to start with OIC.
Islamization.
I want to start with OIC. Are you aware, ma'am, that there are some countries that belong to OIC and that are not clearly Muslim countries? You can talk about the Republic of Togo, our close door neighbors here. You can even talk about the Republic of Benin. You can talk of Maldives. You can talk of Suriname, Republic of Suriname. These are, even Sierra Leone, these countries are not clearly Muslim countries. So what is the problem with Nigeria being a member of OIC? And I also like the fact that you talked about Islamic Development Bank. You know, some of these banks grant interest-free loans, you know, to member countries for infrastructure development, like the SUCOC in Nigeria, which has been used to fund some highways in this country. Is there any problem with that?
The problem of Nigeria is unique, especially because of northern Nigeria. The northern Nigeria is pro-Islam. And not only that it's pro-Islam, in northern Nigeria, we already have Islamists. You also recall that during Obasanjo's reign, he approved Sharia for northern Nigeria. Although now he's saying he regretted it, though, but he did officially approved Sharia for northern Nigeria. So that gives northern Nigeria a body language of Islamization already. So by the time you now look at it against that background that the 50% Islamic North are now ravishing in their being member of OIC, then the other group is disadvantaged. Then again, ask me the question of which kind of Islam do Nigerians practice? I always say it. I say if the Islam practiced in Nigeria is the one that gives us Sambisa Forest, for instance, as Qatar Republic, who is going to complain? But look at the kind of Islam in Nigeria, from Boko Haram to ISWAP, from ISWAP to terrorists, from terrorists to bandits. We're just changing the names from one, and then people are being killed. First, it was burning of churches. Burning of churches to killing of Christians. Of course, whenever you point one finger at one person to the other person, 4 is to you. Then they really went mad and start even burning mosques.
And now, ma'am, if you look at
versions of the Muslims, and then you have the Shiites, and those ones too are killing themselves. So the body language of Islam in Nigeria shows that we can't manage it.
All right. Now, if you look at all that has happened in the past, if you look at all that has happened in the past and presently, with regard to the way insecurity has festered and going down south unconstrained, do you think that there is a subtle plan, more like a conspiracy, to Islamize Nigeria by past and present leaders of this country?
Yes,
and if you factor the fact of OIC, Do you think that?
Yes, that is where I'm actually going. I'm one of those people who wrote those articles. Buhari is Islamizing Nigeria through the back door. I think at a point too, I wrote another one saying, is no more Islamizing Nigeria through the back door, is Islamizing Nigeria whole her. We were seeing face to face Islamization by Islamists in Nigeria, especially from Eastern Nigeria. We are seeing face to face Fulanization. And then we were not surprised the rate at which it shifted from the north to the middle belt. I'm from the middle belt, and it became bad in Kogi State. Kwara State, there was 1 year like that in Kwara State. I didn't go for Christmas service because they have already killed people in Abuja, killed Christians during Christmas service. So there was a time in Kwara State that once it is Christmas, we're just afraid of whether it's Catholic church that we enter or a Pentecostal church. And
Okay.
if you just see the arrays of Christians that have been killed coming down from northern Nigeria to the middle belt, and now the West is asking for Sharia in the West, in Yoruba land, the Lobo states, the Lagos, Ogun,
All right,
Ondo,
ma'am. Okay.
Ekiti,
Now we need
Niger
to.
South, they
All right.
want.
I
And that is
appreciate you. I
now we
appreciate
just
you,
want
ma'am.
them
No,
to
we need to
clean
go
it
for
up.
a short break. Please hold on to your line of thought. We need to go for a short break, and when we come back, we just continue from where we stop. Please stay with
Thank
us and
you.
don't go away.
Join us as we drive into the world of politics through insightful interviews with prominent political figures, both serving and former governors, ministers, senators, legislators, party chieftains, activists, and analysts. Get first-hand information into the decision-making processes that affect our daily lives. Highly engaging one-hour program that brings political discourse into focus.
I am Chupuma Okoro.
Political Lens, Monday through Friday, 6 to 7 p.m. Join us.
All right, welcome back and thanks for staying with us. And if you are just joining us, this is Political Lens, and we are speaking with Professor Funmilayo Davies, who is the Secretary of the Nigerian Supreme Council of Ecclesiastical Affairs in Nigeria. Now, Professor, thanks for staying with us. Now, let's get into it again. I like the fact that you talked about the Sharia law, which Obasanjo said he approved, but he's regretting at this moment. Let's talk about the Sharia in the Southwest. You are a Yoruba woman, but incidentally, you also come from the North Central. What are the possibilities that Sharia could take place, that Sharia law could operate in the Southwest? Is there a possibility that that could happen? Considering the fact that, look, though we know that there are Muslims in the Southwest, but essentially it has never happened. But there is this narrative being pushed by some people to introduce Sharia in the Southwest. What does that look like? Is there a form of trying subtly to also, like what we are talking about, trying to get Nigeria to fully become an Islamic country? Are we traveling in that direction?
There are times when things happen and it looks like it. You just be like, yeah, it looks like it. But there are times when things happen and it's as if it is glaring. Like just say, which color of dress am I wearing? Glaringly green, glaringly red, quite glaring. So I'm going to just start from your last question. And I'm saying now it is glaring. It is so glaring that what we used to call sneaking in Islamization through the back door is now staring face to face on the face of Christians in Nigeria. Because should we be in a barrier? in the West. I spoke with some youths from Western Nigeria during the week, National Association of Nigerian Yoruba Youths. And I'm the patron. And they said to me, Mom, the only thing we will not allow to happen in Western Nigeria is Sharia. Because there's a kind of Yoruba, there's a kind of Islam that Yorubas as people, they practice. I always say it, and people say I'm supporting my tribe. Yorubas are educated. Yorubas are intelligent. Yorubas are loving. Yorubas are kind. Yorubas hate trouble. So by nature, they are disciplined. They know what they want. They know what they don't want. The Islam being practiced in Western Nigeria by Yorubas is not the same that is being practiced in Northern Nigeria. Yorubas can't do the thing that gets the cutlass and then you start chopping off people's neck and you start killing people and shedding blood. Yorubas always shy for even from ordinary protest. When they are protesting in Northern Nigeria, you hardly will find Yorubas protest because life is precious to them. Yoruba place value on lives of man as God does. So I know, and I'm going to repeat that over and over again, that Sharia in Yoruba land, which is Western Nigeria, will not see the light of day.
All right.
Sharia
All right.
will not see the
Okay.
light. And Baba Obasanjo insinuated it. Baba Obasanjo said, oh, you guys will want me to sign for you Sharia. You want to start chopping off the hands of all the people that voted for you. Don't you know that it's extreme in the 20th century to dabble into that? And they insisted that was one of the reasons we voted for you. You promised to help us to do our religion, so we want Sharia. And Baba said, okay, I'm going to sign for you if that is what you want. In Yoruba, they call it Omo Ima Pami, Omo Ima Pami, Omo Ima Pare, which means if your child says it's going to drown inside water, and you keep following the child and say, please don't drown, and then the child gets into the ocean and running, the father and mother runs back home. They run back home and say, okay, you want to kill yourself? Don't kill yourself, but don't kill us because we've done our best. So Baba Obasanjo felt he did so much by persuading them, like God spoke to Israelites.
Okay.
In the book of Judges, when they said, we want kings like other nations, God said, oh, come and see a list. I think they read those lists to us when I was doing BK in secondary school. He's going to take your wives, he's going to take your husband, he's going to get you off your things, he's going to carry you as slave. Don't do, and they insisted. So when Northern Nigeria insisted that they must do Sharia, Baba Obasanjo said, okay, but don't get it to the West.
It's good to know.
Don't
it's good to know
to the West. Don't get it to
okay,
South.
Okay, ma'am. It's good to know your take on the fact that Sharia will never take root in the Southwest.
It will never
exactly the point. Now, let's see how it pans out, because a lot of people are also up against the introduction of Sharia in the Southwest. Now, let's get into the state of the nation. I would like, what's your overview, your assessment of the policies of the APC, the All Progressives Congress, beginning from Muhammadu Buhari, and now that we have President Bola Ahmed Tinubu? What's your assessment of their policies? How have they impacted the nation, positively or otherwise?
Let me simplify it. During the campaign, Patience Jonathan said, oh, Nigerians, I pity you. You want to move from digital back to analog? So I see that playing out from from Buhari, from Muhammad Buhari. We just went back from that to analog, from digital. And again, it is like I say, I always talk about bottom line. What is happening in the markets? Not what is happening with the billionaires who went giving Babangida 16 billion naira last week. What is happening to an average Nigerian in the market? What is happening to the civil servants? Can they still fuel their car and go to work? What is happening to food, commodities? Everything is, the cost of living has increased. Our standard of living has deteriorated. Not business as usual. Before Buhari, in the days of Jonathan, you can still pick a sack of rice for 25,000 naira. Now is 120,000 naira.
Quite
in those days, I used to sell my car.
Quite
I sold my car for 25,000 naira.
All right, ma. We still have a lot to talk about. Okay, we still have a lot to talk about, so we need to move from the state from there. Now, let's talk about you as a person. Now, but before we get into that, into your political aspirations and all of that, I would like for you to chime, into the ongoing spat between Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan and the Senate President Godswill Akpabio. Do you think that Natasha has been treated fairly or otherwise, considering the fact of what happened in the Senate and all of that? What's your reaction to what has happened between her and the Senate President?
And I saw Natasha's case in court. She called up a lawyer and she's asking for 1 billion naira for the damage. A type, normally I watch processes of House of Assembly, processes of Senate. Today in my university, we still had a Senate meeting. So I'm used to happen at Senate meetings. We read laws to ourselves. That's what we do at Senate meetings. So once you get up and you could quote your basis for your speech or emotion. As in Natasha, I watched how she explained the part of a section of the Constitution that says even if a matter is not on ground, once it is, so you call, just speak to it. I expected Akpabio to have been a complete gentleman, moderating that session in such a way that if your program for the day is on and somebody is coming with another issue that may not be directly concerned, but is still within the range, and the person is still on her feet, whether male or female. Quoting the laws that says, tolerate me. And I had her saying, please. Oh, no.
All right then. It's good to know that even in the chamber, the rule of law should apply and people should be treated fairly. Now, let's get into your own, let's get into your person, your ambition. You once aspired to lead this country.
I mean, like a bully, as if we're in a nursery primary school. It's disheartening that our Senate chamber deteriorates to that level. And again, there's what they say about ladies first.
Okay, ma. Thanks very much. Ladies first. Now we need to move because we have
a belt. So the ticket has a way of getting either to the north or the south, They may not look at me as a middle belter. So I was disadvantaged as a woman, disadvantaged as a minority middle belter. And when I just saw the pace as which it was going, also, I was also the Christian in the north, because 2019 was quoted by APC and PDP to northern Nigeria. So I was also contesting as a northerner, so a northerner Christian, a middle belt, and a woman. So I felt I'm somewhat disadvantaged, especially at the point when we formed the coalition. That was about 54 parties, and it was chaired by, can I remember the name of the former governor of Osun State, chaired it. And
Olagunsoye Oyinlola.
I was disadvantaged.
Governor Olagunsoye Oyinlola.
Oyinlola, thank you. Oyinlola just told me, how many offices do you have in the 36 states? We're looking for the person who has picked on this career. So it was Atiku, me, about 4 of us. That was when I said Atiku, step down for me. It's time
Exactly.
for a
I was
woman.
coming to that. I was coming to that.
Yeah.
Before I asked you the article question, now, were you at any point intimidated by the men folk? Was there any form of aggression, any form of resentment? And look at this woman that wants to be president and all of that. And what kind of support did you get from the women? More like women supporting women.
Do you know my support was actually from students? National Association of Nigerian Students came to my office with a plaque, just the way they did last week again, with another plaque saying, "Mommy, for your contribution to Nigeria, peace and stability." Then they brought a plaque and said, "This plaque signifies our endorsement that we want a professor, a university professor, and a mother in Aso Rock. And this is National Association of Nigerian Students supporting you." So I got my big support from National Association of Nigerian Students. I got a ticket from the party that I went to, Mass Action Joint Alliance. There were 3 men and me, and the 3 men just stepped down for me. That was amazing. And they gave me the tickets, despite the fact that women are not even supposed to pay for the form. We only pay 1 million for expression of interest. We didn't pay the big money for the form. So my party Maja lost that big money that a man will have paid to them at the point when the 3 men stepped down for me, and they gave me the ticket. So I got support of some men in my party, even the presidential men. I got support of Nigerian I got support of Nigerian students, Nigerian youths, and I'm sure that was where my
How
vote
about the
came
women?
from.
How
I
about the
really
women
didn't
folk?
know whether I got support of women, even in my own village, because I had the women in my village saying, Alhaji said we should vote for Buhari, as if they have already told them whom to vote for, which is a problem of women in Nigeria.
Okay. Now,
Women
now,
vote
now,
according
coming
to what
pointedly,
they
you were very intentional.
understand.
You were very intentional in that 2019, and you pointedly asked former Vice President Atiku Abubakar, who was also a presidential candidate, to step down for you. Were you serious, or were you just giving out sound bites, for people to talk about you, or were you actually serious? Do you think that Atiku would have
I
stepped
was
down for you?
very serious. I looked at Nigeria and I was just like, oh my God, 2019, how many years have men ruled? Look at my headline. My headline on the news says, she said, the men has failed us. Let's try a mother the way they did in Liberia. And then I was seeing what was happening in the US too. See how Kamala Harris came as number 2. Even now, I wouldn't, it's still beating my imagination that we won't try a woman as number 2. And if you read my headlines, it's just like time for a woman president. And I said, the time is now. And I say, like Abraham Lincoln Jr., I say, I have a dream that one day a woman will run Nigeria. And it is PMA, Professor Mercy Adesoya, and the time is now. So at the time I was telling Atiku to step down for me, he has won the ticket of PDP. I have won the ticket of Maja, and other people have won some other tickets, and all the parties now came together. So he was just a presidential candidate of PDP while I was presidential candidate of Maja, and we had other presidential candidates. And so I wasn't saying it as a joke. I was like, national coalition of political
All right.
parties.
You've been in the turf of politics for a while now. If you had a crystal ball, could you look into 2027 and tell us what will happen? Do you think that there could be a possibility of a big merger between whether PDP, LP, NMPP, and all other SDP coming together to wrest power from the APC? Is there a possibility?
I'm a very pragmatic person. Just the way I finally stepped down for Atiku in 2019, and I said to my students, don't scatter votes. Let's just give it to Atiku and keep PDP. And just the way in the last election, I campaigned for Obi. As in, hey, let's have a change and a good change for once. Why not Peter Obi? So I did a massive campaign in Kwara State because there's something unique about Kwara State. In my state, I find out something. In my village, Iraq, I vote normally at the palace there. Whoever wins in my local government wins in the state. Whoever wins in the state wins in the country. So I've already studied it. So I went to campaign in Kwara State from home so that Obi could win in my village, win in my local government, win in my state, Kwara, and we could deliver him because we've not had any president in Nigeria that did not win in Kwara State and ends up at Asurok. So when I didn't win in my village and my local government and in Kwara State, I knew I must slow down.
Okay.
So look, from that point of view, Nigeria ready for anything radical.
Okay.
If Nigeria will be, they're not ready for anything radical. So I see Tinubu's second tenor of Yoruba still saying, Milokan, Awalokan.
Now, as we leave, do we see you, as we leave now, do we see you take another shot at the presidency? And how soon would that be? And I'd also like for you to talk about, do you think that Nigerians are ready now for a female president?
My answer looks like the last answer. Just the way I said, if they were not ready for Obi, I don't see power out of Tinubu's hands. So I see Tinubu again because we take our time. Nigerians, we take any and everything. I don't even know the word to use for us. Is it patience or is it docility? So I don't see Nigeria ready for a female president. So I don't see them ready for me. At the last chat we had, somebody just said about me, said she talks like Trump. As in she's just going to go for anything she feels is necessary and damn some consequences. I don't think Nigeria is ready for my guts yet.
All right, thank you very much. Now, this has been very insightful, quite incisive, and unfortunately, we are out of time, and this is where we wrap up this conversation. Many thanks to our guest, Professor Funmilayo Adesanya Davies, a professor of linguistics at the Ignatius Ajuru University of Education in Port Harcourt. And thanks again, ma'am, for coming to Political Lens. Now, Political Lens returns same time tomorrow at 6 p.m., and please do keep a date with us. I am Chukwuma Okoro. Enjoy the rest of your evening and see you tomorrow.